Hey there, quick little video from Leverlo walking through a design thinking process, a 1 hour process you can use with your team. So the hope is if you're stuck on a project or initiative and you're confused, it'll get you to a point where you have clarity on what you need to do, give you fresh ideas. So some of the benefits of doing it, you're going to get a lot of awareness for you and your team on kind of what's happening on the project and what you need to be doing, and you're going to get an alignment as you work through kind of this 1 hour workshop that we'll explain. It's going to align you guys and make sure you're all on the same page. So the kind of central framework for this is the double diamond of design. So the double diamond has the problem space and the solution space. And why this is kind of important can be highlighted with a story. So back in the day, there was a company and they were trying to make the world's best drill bits. So they had been in business for a while, they had really great drill bits, but they were trying to make even better drill bits. So they went and they were focusing on the solution space. Like, what are the best solutions, best ideas that we can come up with to make better drill bits? And they came up with titanium, and then they added a diamond carbide tip and all these different things to have the best possible drill bits. And always thinking, like, what is the best solution, best ideas? But then eventually they got stuck and they needed to innovate. So in order for them to innovate, they had to go back to the problem space and kind of ask themselves, like, what is the real problem that we're trying to solve here? What are we really trying to do? And they realized what they're really trying to do is to make holes. And from that, when they realized and reframed that problem to how do we make a better drill bit, solution space to problem space, how do you make what's the best way to make holes? That's what led that company to invent the laser. So that's where you see innovation happening. And this happens all the time. So solution space is where we're seeking better solutions, and we can sometimes get trapped here. This is a fun place to be, but if we really want to innovate, if we really want to kind of be strategic, we want to go back to the problem space and ask better questions and really explore the problem as well. So we see this throughout history. So if you think about back when they had candles, and candles was the main way everyone lit up everything, if you're thinking only solution space, like how do I make more candles? How can I make better candles? How can I make them with a scent, without a scent? But really, if you think about what's the problem they're trying to solve, I even said it earlier, how do I best produce light? That's what led to the invention of the light bulb. If you think about solution space with the Polaroid camera, like, how do I make a better Polaroid? What can give me a better resolution when it prints out? But if you go back to the problem space, how do I best take a picture? That's going to lead to the digital camera. Last example, you see, how do I make a better VHS? How do I watch movies? Well, I kind of got to it with that second question I asked, like, what's the problem? What are we really trying to do? And you see Netflix comes out of that. And Best Buy even had the opportunity to, not Best Buy, Blockbuster had the opportunity to buy out Netflix, and they laughed them out of the room when they heard about what they were doing. But we see innovations really go back to what is that problem you're trying to solve? And Netflix kind of did that, and then they kind of groundbreaking at the time idea of the DVDs and then streaming services, and then Blockbuster went out of business. So why is this relevant for us? So when we think about the church, we can often get stuck in solution space. How do we do church better? How do we make worship better? How do we do better preaching? How do we get more people to show up? But really, what's the problem we're trying to solve? And that's how do we make disciples? So going back to that problem space, and we can actually work through a process, and that's what we're going to unpack a little bit today. So there's a worksheet here, and if you look at this worksheet, it just walks you through a 1 hour process that you can use with a team that kind of applies design thinking to kind of strategically lead a meeting and come up with some very actionable insights that are going to lead you to get to where you want to go in terms of innovating. So you see 7 different steps here, and you see that double diamond that I referenced earlier. So what that really looks like is you're going to start, before you even get into the problem space, with a little warm-up. You're going to spend some time in the problem space. As you see, steps 1, 2, 3, 4 is a transition point, and then steps 5 and 6 just be in the solution space, and 7 really coming up with an action plan to move forward. So what that looks like is you do the warm-up, but then you're diverging. You're thinking about the problem as much as possible. After you've done that, you're converging. How do we narrow down what's the main priority? What's the main problem that we're trying to solve here? Then again, solution, diverge as many ideas as possible. Solution space, converge, and then you're going to come up with a plan. So if we go back to that process, if you had some sticky notes, just draw a big mountain and start off with when you think about the project you're working on, you think about the initiative you're working on, thinking about what's pulling you upwards. So you see this mountain, which represents whatever you're working on, whatever initiative you have, whatever project, and you see kind of the horizon, and then above it, you see sticky notes. So first, get a big whiteboard or something like that, have your mountain drawn, and then have people put as a kind of a warm up, because we're gonna move next to the problem space, but we want to start on a positive note. Have people put sticky notes up of what's moving us forward, what's going well, what's working right now. Take a couple minutes to do that with some sticky notes, talk about it, and then step 2, you're going to go into capturing problems. So this is kind of now looking back at that mountain. What's holding you back as you're trying to climb this mountain, journey towards where you want to go? Have people in your team add sticky notes of what are the problems holding you back. The next step is going to be to prioritize the problems. If you have some like a marker or some sticky notes or sticky labels, you can see here you can prioritize. Okay, everyone gets 3 votes. Everyone vote. What do you think is the biggest problem holding us back? So I posted about that the other day on Twitter. It's the idea of a pain storm. So first, get as many of the problems that's holding you back down as possible, and then prioritize what are the biggest ones that you have. So once you have that problem, kind of the number one issue that's holding you back from where you want to go, you want to reframe that problem. So now you're at the inflection point of the whole process. So what you want to do is something called an HMW. An HMW is how might we. So if the problem is we don't have enough leaders, that's kind of framed a certain way in a negative way. So we want to reframe it. So your problem is we don't have enough leaders. How might we then get more leaders? How might we develop more leaders? So you're reframing, you're taking the problem and you're saying HMW blank. How might we get more leaders would be an example. Next, once you have that reframed problem, so you see you have your sticky note of your problem that's been prioritized, write out your HMW, your reframed problem statement, then you're going to ideate. You can just, again, on a whiteboard, on a blank wall, have your team come up with as many ideas, as many solutions as they can on sticky notes. 1 idea per sticky note is usually best to ideate. What are the possible solutions? You see again here, we're diverging in the solution space. And then once they've done that, prioritize. What are the top solutions so you can have people vote? I found it's helpful, move from 3 to 6 votes each person on your team, and they can, whoever has the most dots, those are the top ideas. So once you have those top ideas, so that's the idea of a brainstorm, come up with as many ideas as possible, vote, and kind of see which ideas people are really resonating with. And then after that, you can plot that on a effort versus impact. So low effort, low impact, high impact. And you really want to plot those different ideas and put them in the things that are the most impact for the least effort. So you might have to break down whatever your project or idea is into some tasks, and you want to get those kind of plotted on this. And then once you have that, it's just essentially comes down to make an execution plan. Who's going to do what to move forward? So what and how will we execute and who's in charge of that? So this is kind of an overview of that process. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, leverlow.com on Twitter, and then leverlow.com. So that's spelled out for Twitter, and then leverlow.com is the website, so you can always reach out to me through there.